BFS, big fart syndrome, bassin for suckers, big fellas on Sunday, big fat sallies. All jokes aside, BFS stands for Bait Finesse Systems. And I'm not coming at you with this video. You likely have picked up on it from either the thumbnail or the title. BFS is completely brand new to me. I just finally got my very first BFS setup, ordered a tackle order from Omnia Fishing that is strictly just BFS baits. So this year I'll be putting some time in around throwing and trying to catch fish with BFS. Now, I asked AI for a definition here of what BFS actually is to give you guys a better depiction of what the hell Bait Finesse Systems is and how the heck I can incorporate that into my fishing. So, AI here says BFS fishing stands for Bait Finesse System Fishing, which is a technique that uses specialized bait casting reels and rods to cast with very lightweight lures. Pretty high level, I think we've all picked up on that if you've heard about BFS thus far. Typically used with spinning tackle, allows anglers to fish with finer presentations, obviously talking about something very light wire, particularly for wary fish in pressured waters. Essentially, it's a finesse style of fishing using bait casting gear. So that's a perfect way of dumbing it down, and that is a great way to kind of give the story of BFS. Originated over in Japan, BFS has allowed anglers to try these very small plastics and presentations on waters like in Japan that are so heavily pressured that you kind of don't have a middle of the road for anglers over there. You kind of have two different ends of the spectrum. You get your BFS super tiny stuff, and then you get your giant glide baits, things like that. So there's two different ends of the spectrum of anglers to catch fish over there. And you kind of see that with some of the pressured waters here in the States, is you got guys going super finesse, or you got guys throwing really big swim baits. Both work great, both have their different situations. One catches obviously more fish than the other. One obviously might have a little bit better hookup ratio than the other, but it's one that is becoming year over year bigger and bigger amongst anglers that at least have interest in it, looking in it. We see a lot of bait brands now that are creating rods, reels, baits, line, etc. towards BFS. So it shows me that there's enough anglers using it, and it's about time I start getting in on the trend and at least give it a shot. Now, you guys have seen, especially if you've been around this channel, that I like to use my spinning gear. I'm a northern guy. I always have an eco rigged up, drop shot, things of that nature. I'm a smallmouth guy as well. So I'm very comfortable throwing spinning tackle. So a lot of this stuff for me, why I'm so late to the trend, is I'll just throw it on spinning gear. But I know I need to at least give this a chance, experiment with it and see if I like it. And so there's some situations that I think, and you'll see with some of the baits that I have here from Omnia, that I'm gonna try to incorporate and see if I can actually pick up a few extra bites. And that's the way I think I'm gonna incorporate this into my game, is I think this is just gonna be something to have with me, something to dedicate where if the fishing's really tough, or to try to get a few extra bites. If I go down and I'm flipping a timber stretch, I can come back through with BFS and maybe pick up a couple more. But we're definitely going to try to go after some multi-species with this too. We might go after some panfish, some trout, things like that with BFS. So there's a couple things to note going into this, and is that if you're looking to get into BFS, one, obviously the baits, when it comes to buying that stuff, not all BFS baits are labeled as BFS, and they're not really called BFS baits. There's some that obviously have the BFS name in the bait name. As you heard from the definition though, it's something that is extremely lightweight, like a 1/16 ounce Ned rig, your very small bullet weight, which some of this stuff I'll walk you through, which is not exactly like, you could throw this on spinning tackle. This is just super lightweight stuff, which is BFS is designed for. So note that if you're going to go look to buy BFS baits, if you go and search BFS, that doesn't mean that those baits are the only things that you can throw on these setups, if that makes sense. The nice part is, with more brands getting into this too, you can get more affordable rods, reels, and things like that, so you don't have to, where at the beginning of BFS, at least to my knowledge, a lot of these reels and rods are very expensive. You know, anywhere from the $300 to $500 range, if not more. Where now you got brands like Abu Garcia that come out with the Revo X BFS, which is like $100 to $120 reel, where it's a much easier investment for you to get into and try BFS. And chances are, some of the tackle you guys have right now that you're using on spinning gear is exactly the same tackle that you can use for BFS. Hopefully that makes some sense. That's at least how I'm breaking it down. Again, I am not a BFS expert. This is me walking you guys through my entry into BFS fishing, the stuff I've ordered, my approach to it. And with that being said, if you have been fishing BFS, if you have experience with it, I would love if you can comment down below some baits that you found or things that you found that have confidence in to catch bass that are very well versed using BFS. Any feedback, anything down below? Again, we are here at Beat the Fish to learn, have fun bass fishing, catch more fish. So that is the point of it. So comment down below if you guys have any feedback throughout this video. But without further ado, I'm gonna walk through my one BFS setup that I have so far, and as well as the tackle that I ordered to go along with it. All right, so let's start off with the rod and reel, because I told you guys I literally only have one combo that is, you know, designed towards BFS. So what I have here is a 7-1 medium fast. It's actually an Abu Garcia Xenon rod. And this reel right here is a Daiwa Silver Creek. Now with this reel, I want to preface is it's up on the $300, $350 range. A little bit harder to get, and the only reason I have it is because a good friend of mine was actually getting rid of it and I bought it off of him. So it's not one you can go and get on Omnia, unfortunately. What I have here is an 8-to-5 gear ratio, and it's called Silver Creek because after my research on it and looking at it, it's basically designed for kind of like your trout streams. You're up in the mountains, the smaller creeks. That's why it has a very shallow spool. Typically those BFS reels do. What I have on there is straight 10-pound fluorocarbon, and this is essentially just gonna be kind of a flipping reel. I'm not gonna be making long bomb casts on this or anything like that. This is one that it's just gonna be a very finesse flipping setup for me, which you'll see that in the trend going through the different baits and stuff that I got on there. But a very light, extremely light setup through and through from rod and reel, and excited to see how this stuff performs on some of these lighter baits. Pretty snazzy freaking reel though, if I do say so myself. Let's break into the baits. Now to give you guys a good rule of thumb as well, when I was searching up this AI definition of what BFS is, one of the things that they recommend in lure size is when you're using obviously these very lightweight lures in the 1 gram to 7 gram weight range. And so for you guys, 1 gram is 0.03 ounces and 7 grams is 0.247, so 0.25 ounces, a quarter of an ounce. So anywhere from very, very minuscule, because 0.03, I'm not the greatest at math either, but that is very, very, very tiny, to up to a quarter. So hopefully that helps kind of give you guys an idea of when you're going to look at different baits and such, how to keep into that range. All right, so let's first start off with the terminal tackle that I ordered, and then we'll dive into some of the specific baits that I ordered to go with this stuff. Okay, so the first one I have here is probably the one I'll be at least starting with, just to kind of give this thing a shot. Like I said, this is gonna be a backup super finesse flipping setup. So one, like I said, if I was going down a stretch of laydowns type of deal, flipping in there, this might be something where I'll go back again, flip down, or if I'm not getting bit, maybe switch to this if I do know that they're in those laydowns. This might be something I go to. So first thing I got is a 1/16 ounce tungsten. So very, very, very light. So with that, I have these 1/0 Owner soft bait EWGs. And like I said, I ordered this all from Omnia, so I'll link it down below. You guys can use code series10, save 10% if you'd like to get some of this stuff. Again, no experts, it's just what I've ordered to give this a shot. So if you have stuff I should order too, you know, great baits, whatever it may be, let me know down below too. So secondly, what I got from Z-Man are these 1/10 ounce finesse bullets. So essentially just being able to rig that plastic. Weedless, just kind of a jig head versus a Texas rig. And on that same train of thought, I got these Owner Ultra Heads, 1/16 ounce, very, very small. Something that if I wanted to kind of give a different presentation from a Texas rig, drag down, it's just different heads to try this stuff. So those are the main things that I bought, but looking at simply my tackle box here, this is a small 3600 Evolution box that's got a lot of my main jig heads that I can throw. There are stuff simply in my box already that I can go and use with BFS. Like for example, I have a little 1/8 ounce Ned rig from BKK. That is another example of something that you can throw on this. And that same train of thought can be said for shaky heads, you know, jigs. If you have very, very small jigs, you can do stuff like that, you know. So, but remember that 1/4 ounce and below is typically the range you want to stick into a BFS. Otherwise, you can just use normal casting gear. But there's certainly stuff in your own tackle boxes you likely already have that you could use as BFS. Remember what I said earlier, it doesn't have to be when you search a bait and it says such and such BFS bait, it doesn't need to have that label in there. It sticks to that range and it can be applied. It can be used on BFS. All right, now on to the baits. So I'm gonna keep this simple bait-wise. I have 4 different baits, all that I can either rig completely different, whether it's the jig heads or the Texas rig I showed you, to even using a small drop shot weight and free rigging some of this stuff. Have a couple packs here, and this is the G-Crack Bellows Gill, and that is the 2.8 inch So that is one. This is one that likely would be Texas rigged, or honestly, I'd be free rigging this as well. That would make for a great free rig bait. Something that's very subtle, flat. Obviously, there's a lot going on with, you know, the different appendages that you can see in there, how ribbed it is, and that tail is just going to be able to flutter on there. So very small, obviously, with 2.8. That's one I got that's more natural. And then I got two colors in these. And this is the Z-Man Baby Goat. So this one being a 3-inch bait. I got one black and blue, got one green pumpkin. Helps to be Elastex, so they'll last a little bit longer. This one likely is going to be like the bait to Texas rig. So flipping down the laydown, something that's super subtle, that tiny presentation. The nice part is with that Z-Man, obviously that hook point in the Texas rig will bury nice, so that come through that wood pretty easy. It's light line, you don't want to be getting hung up or getting, you know, running through a bunch of stuff. So looking forward to putting these to use, honestly, and that could become something that I use on the regular, but we won't find out until we actually get the water to open up here in the north and get rid of this ice, put these babies to work. Now the third one, this is one that's probably going to be, you saw with those jig heads. That's probably one that I'm going to refer to here, where this might not be the best one to Texas rig. This is the Great Lakes Finesse Juicy Hellgrammite. I got a couple packs of these. It's a 2 1/4 inch. Got both of them in black. I got a couple of them. Definitely something that we're going to try some of the rivers and creeks here in New York, but I'm not going to be afraid to throw this stuff for largemouth too and just see if that's something that'll bite. Because if it's something, especially during spawn season for largemouth, it can be a lot trickier to get the bite, or even just in general fishing throughout spring or summer. We'll see if they'll take a liking to these bad boys. So the last bait I have here is one that I've actually had for a little while. Typically use it on a Ned rig, even drop shot it a little bit. I haven't heard of anybody else that throws them, but these are striking rage bugs, the 3-inch. I don't know if you guys have ever seen 3-inch, but I'll get one out for you guys. This is one that to likely Texas rig as well. Could throw on the jig heads. This one definitely has the most action of the other ones that I showed you guys, but that is a cool little bait that's tiny that I think could play for sure. Similar to like I was showing you guys on the other baits, whether it might be spawn for largemouth, something completely different and tiny to get them to try to eat something. That is something I think I can go through and flip some of the, whether it's grass laydowns, things like that, and get some bites with a much smaller presentation. I think that could be Texas rigged, like I said, that could be free rigged, that could be throwing on these jig heads, that could be used in a lot of places. So very short and straight to the point. This is the stuff that I have put together. So very short, straight to the point. This stuff is going to be something that comes with me that I'm going to try, give some time to, starting when we get ice out here. I got everything to be put into a Evolution bait bag. I'll link this down below. Basically, I have it labeled BFS, everything that I need for BFS. I can take trips where I just bring the BFS rod, and it's likely it's going to happen, so I can be concerted to actually throwing it, but something to give this a try. So I'm excited to try it. I've been kind of avoiding it for a while, but I figured it is time for me to start going down the rabbit hole of BFS. If you've already been going down it and you've caught fish with it, you guys love BFS, let me know down below. Let me know if there's any critiques, any feedback from what I showed you guys. This is just the initial package that I've put together to try and go throw some stuff on BFS. Looking forward to getting out, trying to catch some fish with it, putting some BFS fishing videos together for you guys. But if you are still here on this video right now, I appreciate the heck out of you guys for taking time out of your day to come and watch and listen to me. Just some goober here from the north that is die hard about fishing. You guys are amazing. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see y'all on the next one.